Honorable, thanks for sitting with us on Hot Issues.
Thank you.
Anyway, I want to talk about your stalled bills, which would protect women who are being accused of witchcraft and also get rid of the death penalty. It would seem that the president and the speaker are on a collision course on that. Is the speaker being unreasonable, or it is the president that is?
I think the president is acting unconstitutionally, and it is the role of the speaker to tell the president in his face that he's acting unconstitutionally. And I think that's exactly what the speaker has done. Remember that the reasons why we have three arms of government is to check so that we can check each other. That's the only way we check the balance of power in the country. So if you don't do that, then the president will do what he's doing now. You know, the president is not supposed to be a legislator.
Well, but the president gives the speaker and parliament, by extension, reasonable reasons why it cannot assent to those bills.
No, I think the reasons had no basis, not in law. Or
well, he refers to Article 108.
Article 108 does not. You see, that's a problem. Article 108 does not belong to the presidency. It's not part of the regulations of the executive. It's not part of the remit of executive. 108 only relates to the Parliament of Ghana. It only relates to circumstances under which a speaker or the person presiding admits a bill or a motion.
But it also has implication on the president when it says that if the president, if it will have implications on financing for the executive.
No, that is not what it says. Okay. In fact, for the purposes of our listeners, we can quickly
look at 108.
Yeah, look at 108 and let me just read for education. It says that Parliament shall not, unless the bill is introduced or the motion is introduced by or on behalf of the President, A, proceed upon a bill, including an amendment to a bill, that in the opinion of the person presiding makes provision for any of the following. So the critical word here is in the opinion of the person presiding. So when the person presiding makes a determination, the only place, if indeed you feel that the determination is wrongful, is to go to court to challenge that.
But the Constitution does give the president the prerogative also to inform Parliament and the Speaker, really, why he chooses not to assent to any bill. And he's done that.
No. You see, again, when you look at what the president did, well, it's regulated by Article 106. And Article 106(7) provides that where a bill passed by Parliament is presented to the president for assent, he shall signify within 7 days after the presentation to the speaker that he assents to the bill or that he refuses to assent to the bill, unless the bill has been referred by the president to the Council of State under Article 90 of this Constitution. So within 7 days. Now, if you signify to the speaker, what follows is that Article 106 it says, where the president refuses to assent to a bill, he shall, and that is mandatory, he shall, within 14 days after the refusal, A, state in a memorandum to the speaker any specific provision of the bill which, in his opinion, should be reconsidered by Parliament.
Hasn't he done that?
He hasn't done that.
Well, he says that it will have implications on the consolidated fund.
Unfortunately, that is not what the Constitution asks you to do. You see, and that is the reason why...
But he has identified the aspects of the bill that he feels will have implications.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't.
You see, no, he hasn't. He never said that Clause A... You see, the bills are presented in various clauses. So you see maybe Clause A, it says A, this, and I have a problem with Clause A. I have a problem with Clause B, and I'm suggesting that you reconsider it. You do this. That is what you should do. But unfortunately, that is not what he's done. And so he's actually acting in contravention of the Constitution.
Which is the position the Speaker has also outlined last Friday. But my question is, if this is constitutional for the Speaker, it's constitutional for Parliament, the President, on the other hand, also thinks that it's also constitutional for him to let you know that he cannot sign it, what exactly could be at play here?
No, I think what is at play is petty partisanship over greater causes, right? Now, whilst we wait to even debate whether the president can actually assent, whether it's constitutional or unconstitutional, when it is vulnerable women who are dying in witch camps. and now even men who are being accused and being lynched. Since the bill got passed in July this year, we have over 5 people who have already been killed, again, on account of witchcraft accusation. And so it's all about how the kind of premium we place on human life and the kind of how ready we are as a people to protect the most vulnerable in our society. This bill didn't just appear from the moon. It has gone through a series of consultative processes, including visits to some of these witch camps. There are many of these processes that Attorney General was represented, and once Attorney General is there, that's President there. And so it's quite strange that at this very late stage, the President will now be saying that there's Article 108. At what point? Why do we gazette bills? We gazette them so if you have issues, you raise them. Why do you refer it to committee? So that when you have a memo, you submit. If you don't do any of these things and the bill get passed and it's sent to you to assent, and the only reason why you are not assenting is Article 108, with all due respect, I think the President got it wrong. So
what happens now? There are those who have argued that the Speaker, on the other hand, could also gather 2/3 of the House to force the President's hand to the ink and assent the bills.
Well, that is a possibility. And there are many today when, on Friday when the Speaker actually raised the concerns on the floor, there were many who were of the view that the President must be impeached. And they raised it so strongly, and many have made those arguments because, it almost looks like the conduct of the President is, first of all, is impugning the legislative integrity of Parliament. And that is unfair, particularly when these bills went through the lay-down processes and lay-down procedure that bills are supposed to go through before they are passed. And indeed, this government, through the Attorney General, in January of 2023, when they were in the Universal Periodic Review in Geneva, made references to these bills as Ghana's effort to want to abolish death penalty, also criminalize witchcraft accusation. When these bills got passed in July, in October, Ghana was voted to the Human Rights Council at the UN because Ghana was seen as promoting human rights, right? And the President himself, at the last General Assembly meeting, voted in favor of a resolution to end the use of death penalty on account of these bills.
So let me ask you.
So the President is acting really in bad faith. The U10, there should be something we are not being told. I don't know.
What does it mean if this bill, Parliament then agrees with the President that it should be from the executive or be put to Parliament on behalf of the President? What does it mean? Are we starting again?
Well, that is a problem. You see, for me, that may even cause financial loss to the state because it is the state resources we are using. The Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, when we went to Koforidua for 3 days to consider these bills, Ghana Armed Forces have to be represented. Attorney General was represented, Shraj, Judiciary. It's been a lot of work already on these matters. So why would you want to reinvent the wheel when everything required by law has been done?
But if it's been done already, then the only thing that would change would be the fact that it's no longer a private member's bill.
In all honesty,
to an executive.
I don't have a problem as to how these bills get passed. My goal is that these, causes must be championed by our state. Now, for a government who have been in power for 7 years and never saw the need for these bills, how true can we be?
Do you feel the government is trying to steal your shine?
Well, I'm not really. I don't really mind. They can have it because I know that there are many other areas that you can shine, not only through bills like this. But I think that the President wants to reap where he has not sown, and that must not be encouraged. For me, the problem it creates is impugning the legislative integrity of Parliament.
Right.
And that is what we shouldn't encourage. Otherwise, we will be endangering our democracy. Maybe today, the President is from another party, I'm from another party. I thought, in fact, with the support, because we visited the presidency, the support the President gave the bill, and when the bill came, he actually assented to the first one. That gave me some hope in Ghana, because then I realized that we can be political, but we can be non-partisan on matters that affect the generality of our people, particularly the most vulnerable ones. But the U10 is an anticlimax for me. It's kind of put the president in a very, very
Right,
bad picture right now.
Why do you think the speaker has also not taken, he's not made use of the power he has to gather 2/3 of Parliament to force the president's hand to assent to this?
Well, I cannot be too sure exactly what kind of strategy the House may want to have. But I think that every member of the House must be concerned, whether you are in minority or majority, because Parliament will remain the Parliament of Ghana. And, I mean, executive will change,
right,
from time to time. But if we must be progressive as a people, I think that we must all come together and garner the 2/3 majority to be able to compel the president to sign these bills. Failure to do that, I am hoping, in fact, I've actually submitted a petition to the Council of State. I think that this is a time that we want to test the availability and the readiness of the Council of State also to counsel the president on matters like this, because I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so I do want us to talk about private members' bill away from the ones that have stalled. You have put quite a number in Parliament since you joined, and really impressive there. But my question is, you have also said that this is really expensive to do. How expensive is it?
Well, it is expensive because it's time consuming. You spend a lot of time on research. And you do a lot of stakeholder engagement, so it's about traveling, running around, and so it's quite expensive. And if you do not have the passion to do it, you just would let it go. Unfortunately for me...
How much have you spent on these so far?
No, I think it must be considerable amount of money. I don't think I can actually put a figure to it, but it's considerable. And most often than not, you may have stakeholders assisting with one thing or the other. Because, for example, we're doing the death penalty, it was something Amnesty International was interested in, so they may sponsor some of the stakeholder engagement. Sometimes Sana Institute was an action aid, were all interested in the witchcraft accusation, so they sponsor trips to the camps and back. And these are considerable amounts of money that have been spent. Really, really considerable amounts of money.
Could finance be a hurdle why most bills are sponsored by the executive rather than members of the Parliament?
I won't say it's finance. I think that door was shut during this Fourth Republic, and the only time that the door was opened was in the 7th Parliament, when Right Honourable Speaker Professor Michael Quay actually interpreted Article 108 to mean that, give a different interpretation to Article 108. He said until the 7th Parliament, previous speakers had held the view that every bill introduced by a private member will have some financial implication. Because once you bring the bill, if Parliament is, the draft department is doing their research, they are going to use, public time to work on the bill. So previously, everybody thought that every bill will have some implication, but he interpreted it in a different way to mean that the bill should be imposing a charge. The bill is not imposing a charge. So all this bill, none of them is imposing a charge. We are only, because that it must be a positive act of imposition of a charge on the consolidated fund. Because every bill would definitely have some.
I see.
Yes, that is what changed it. So in the 8th Parliament, this is where we have seen a number of private members bills. Because a number of, my colleagues have also come up with different ideas, so we can, help build our nation. The advent of private members bill, I think that is a great addition to the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, because you see, government or executive will always have their priority areas.
Right.
And so the citizens can participate in legislative processes by the prime members' approach. And so for me, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to, participate in this process.
When we come back, we'll talk about another bill that you're co-sponsoring, the anti-LGBTQ bill, the family...
Proper family.
Proper family.
No, I'm not co-sponsoring that.
Oh, you're not
anyway.
co-sponsoring that?
No, I'm not one of the sponsors for that one.
But you're a supporter of...
I believe that, well, let's go and come back.
When we come back, we'll talk about
your
concerns about aspects of the bill.
That, fair.
That you want to talk about.
Fair.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Hot Issues. Honorable, I want us to talk about the anti-gay bill in Parliament now. You have had cause to raise the alarm, I mean, given your human rights background, over certain aspects of this bill. But a section of Muslim group who make up your constituency have been unhappy with that. How are you processing that? It seems you find yourself in a rock and hard place.
Well, I think that, we should be very honest with ourselves. As a legislator, and of course also as a deputy ranking member to the Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee that received the bill, our duty as a Constitutional Committee is to review this bill in the light of both the Constitution, international statutes, and then make a recommendation. Currently, the recommendation has been made that the bill be passed. That is a recommendation that we have made. And so I think whatever may be people's private views may not really matter, because what matters is that as a people and the generality of Ghanaians and all those who have been involved have expressed their view in a particular direction. And that is exactly what the Constitutional Affairs Committee has considered and made recommendations to. I have always said that, as a Christian, I will not endorse sin. And I would not support any law that would endorse sin. And that is how simple I put it, yeah.
I see. The Muslim group that had come against you for your comments for the anti-gay bill to be looked at again, one of the things they've spoken about is because of that, they don't think you have moral authority to advocate for Muslims. And another bill that you have put in Parliament is for the extension of holidays for Muslims.
No, I think that is a mischievous position. And also, let me put it very plainly. Let's be very frank to ourselves. People do politics with some of these matters. And so sometimes you don't even know what kind of intentions they have. I've seen many people, in fact, I chose not to even respond to that because that was a bit more destructive, right? It was not something that was forward-looking. In the first place, I am an elected member of Parliament for Medina constituency. In Medina constituency, one of the first projects I started was the Islam project. The Islam project was to promote the ideals of Islam because I knew I have a considerable Islamic population. So our Salah Fest is one of the best in Medina. We have our Eid programs. It's always one of the best in Medina. We have our Ramadan outreaches. We have what we call the Makaranta harmonization program, where in all the small Islamic training centers, we are harmonizing even their curriculum to include mentorship and so on and so forth. So let me say, and let me put it on authority, that in Medina constituency, of all members of Parliament that have actually ever stood for the people of Medina constituency, if there's one person who have distinguished himself as somebody fighting for the Islamic community, is lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu.
They come across as though that your comments on the anti-gay bill were insensitive to the Islamic community. Do you feel so? That perhaps just a little bit?
No. I think that, what was the comment? That's the question.
Well, you're asking for
asking
for revision of the anti-gay bill, and that means that you are supporting them.
No, how does that even mean supporting? How does that mean supporting? After when the anti-gay bill came before us, there were a penalty of 10 years, which were reviewed during the constitutional review, during the process. Sentences were reviewed and so on and so on. That is what we do as legislators. Every bill that comes to Parliament of Ghana does not come out the way it was introduced. When I introduced the witchcraft bill, we were even criminalizing witchcraft.
Do you think this could have some consequences for you in the 2024 elections?
What consequence? I think that falsehood does not win the day. Light would always be ahead of falsehood. And so for me, I know I'm very clear in my mind, and that any critique of a piece of legislation cannot amount to an endorsement of an act. That in all honest view, I think that would be just trying to, I think it's just one of those politics. And I would, any day, discount it. In fact, all the imams in Medina. Over just this weekend, we're in a Molid. Yeah, the imams of Medina and the good people of Medina know who their member of parliament is. And they know the work the member of parliament is doing.
I see.
Yeah, for all people, both Muslims and Christians.
You are outspoken. Some will go to the extent and say that you're rebellious. There was one time that the phrase "a lawless lawmaker" was used against you. I see you want to respond to that already, but let's see where the question is going. Are you lawless?
You should be answering that question. I think that I am rebellious against lawlessness.
I see.
Yeah.
So when you use those vulgar words while you were demonstrating with the Ghanaian people.
Obviously, if that was the lawlessness you were talking about, I thought you were talking about something else. I mean, those words have long been apologized for, and I don't want to even revisit them again. I had said completely that they were out of character, and so I won't revisit them. Of course, they were spoken at the spell of the moment, and I wish it never happened, so I moved.
You were front of the demonstration to petition the central bank governor.
That is correct.
Over his failure to show before the House. Nothing has happened since then, and not on the minority side, but on the parliament side. Why do you think that is so?
It is so because of lawlessness. So these are the people who are lawless, right? So somebody goes print money without parliamentary approval, and we demand for your resignation. You choose not to resign. We come on, we demonstrate against you, and it's as though nothing happened. You see, and for me, that is a shame to us as a people.
Isn't he in contempt of parliament at this point?
Well, he could be. He could be in contempt of parliament, but it depends on what kind of buttons like leadership want to press. Or
why is leadership not pressing those buttons?
I can't tell. I can't answer for leadership. But I think that
the strategy... How do you feel that leadership is not pressing those buttons?
Well, you know, we are faced with several devils. And sometimes you just have to take it one after the other. I mean, look at what is happening like last Friday, when it comes to appropriation bills, and particularly this session of Parliament, we call it the budget session. It's just full of activities that do not even give us a space to want to give thought to what I would call extraneous matters, right? And so I think that might just be the reason. It may not be because for want of action by leadership. I think that leadership are very well focused, and at appropriate time when they give the command, we shall all follow.
I see. We look forward to hearing that command. I do want us to talk a bit more about Parliament and some of the things that are going on there. Do you know that Parliament at some point was considered one of the most corrupt institutions in the country, particularly the Afrobarometer of 2022?
That is correct. I've read that. I've read that also.
So where does the corruption stem from?
I honestly, I can't tell. And I'm speaking as an individual.
Well, you're already telling us that you are not corrupt. Maybe there could be corrupt politicians in there.
I won't, I can't hold brief for every individual in Parliament. I can only speak for myself because the tendency to be corrupt as a member of Parliament is really high. So if you do not exercise some high moral standards and integrity, you can be corrupted, right? Because the processes by getting people elected or getting us elected in parliamentary primaries and the kind of practice we have in Parliament. You come to Parliament and you have a salary, a gross salary, maybe close to about, say, 32,000. They do all the deductions and everything. And by the time deductions and everything are over, you are taking home, like, say, sometimes 7,000 or less, depending on whether you are taking some facilities from the bank or not. And you take this salary and just go and distribute to people, And so, I recall one of those days when I went and I saw the ballot. I'm like, wow, I think I'm understanding why people get corrupt when they come here.
Do you think that corruption, perceived or not, is the reason that Parliament is not able to hold the executive accountable for the many things we hear?
I won't say so, because I think that taking a cue from this Parliament, I think that the executive has been held accountable.
Have they?
Yeah, they have.
The minority has always screamed, but at the end of the day, the majority has had its
but
way.
there are many things that we've succeeded in. For example, recently when I initiated the tax bills, tax on parts, and for the scraping of the taxes, the executive responded.
Oh, but that's not corruption.
No.
But on corruption-related matters.
I wish I can get like a specific matter that we can deal with, because for the generality, then there are many points that this parliament has held the executive account. Even this Friday, when we're considering the appropriation bill, there were issues that came with the SML or something. There is this contract given by the Ghana Revenue Authority without parliamentary approval. That has come up, and I mean the finance committee has raised concerns about it. In fact, both in the minority and majority, had concerns about even allocations made to the office of the finance ministry, for purposes of like hospitals,
right?
And so on and so forth.
But
right?
for a hung parliament, you'd expect much more from.
It is legitimate for citizens to expect much more. Unfortunately, this hung parliament is not as a hung parliament that can bring a government to a halt and get government to play balls. For most of the times, you realize that even when it's so critical, they will always beat the minority side by a vote or two. And so, yes, it's a hung parliament, but there's a slight majority. And they've always exploited it. Right from E-level days, all the way to almost all the taxes that we fight. All they need to do is rally everybody to come and make sure that at least you can have one person to join you to pass it.
I see.
So it is not that clear. But I think that this parliament has distinguished itself in terms of performance of its duty. And I think this parliament needs to be commended.
How well do you think that the current administration is fighting corruption while we're on the subject?
Well, I don't think that the current administration has demonstrated commitment to fighting corruption. And you can see that with, in many cases. I mean, the issues of corruption and corruption-related matters are so many. If you look at allocations made to the Office of Special Prosecution, the prosecutor, you look at the frustrations he's currently going through to investigate persons in government. If you look at how media men have been hounded down, who have raised concerns about corruption in the country, using, I think, the offensive conduct prohibition article in section, I think, 207 of the Criminal Offences Act, and so on and so forth. I think that this current administration has not shown commitment to fighting corruption.
This parliament has also left a few things hanging. You have one more session to go before you finally hang your boots for the particular parliament. One of those things that you've left hanging is we don't know what has happened to that probe into the plot to oust the IGP. Has it been a matter of concern to you, or perhaps even on the floor since then?
Yes, it has been a matter of concern on the floor, and it's been a matter of concern, I mean, even for the Speaker. And the Speaker has had a reason to even say that he could sanction committees who have referrals that they have not reported on, right? And it's not only the matter of the removal of the IGP. There was a statement on the floor of Parliament in respect of Shadrach Allo, the West Hills Mall police brutality. There is an investigation going on the, I think, the Ashaiman military brutality.
Right.
There are several other referrals made by the Speaker which we are yet to consider on the floor. I'm hopeful that the last session will see release of most of these reports and see direct actions by Parliament on these reports.
I see. You mentioned the appropriations bill earlier, and I want us to talk about it because it's one of the things that Parliament is rushing through in the last hours of the current session. One of the things that we've seen is that the government is asking for over 1 billion cedis for unforeseen expenditure.
Yes.
That must have you screaming.
Absolutely. And it is why the Finance Committee has said that those contingency funds must be reallocated. So I'm sure that before the final appropriation bill is passed, those funds must be reallocated so we know exactly what the government want to do with those funds, because obviously next year is supposed to be election years, and government would want to abuse incumbency by means of hiding all kinds of expenditures around. And so our eyes are on the ball, and we are hoping to fish out all these allocations government is trying to make to itself, so we can find safe landing grounds for these funds.
I see. I want us to talk about the elections, since you have brought that up. Last days, they say, are dangerous, and we've already started hearing a few things that the commissioner has recommended causing debate in our space here in Ghana. I want to hear your own thoughts on the removal of the indelible ink as a way to check multiple voting.
I think that would be a very dangerous move. The reason being that our democracy is still growing. We still have very, very rural constituencies. And so the only way we check is by the indelible ink. And that's
is that not why we have also invested a lot of money in biometric technology?
Well,
what's the point if we are not using it?
But the technology can fail. In fact, in most cases, it fails. I mean,
we tested it during the district level elections.
And it failed in many places. In fact, in my constituency, I went round at WAS.
I see.
It was not working. In fact, from morning till like say 3 p.m. when I got there, they had registered just 25 people. So yes, in the Okataba electoral area.
So those people who could not be verified did not vote?
They could not vote.
I see.
And then so technology can fail, especially when in our part of the world we have not yet, grown and develop these technology to the best of,
So when will we grow? Because it's time to get rid of the old ways of doing that.
Well, I think...
Especially when we are spending a lot of money.
It comes with time. I mean, if you think that democracy is too expensive, then you want to try autocracy, because you need these things to guarantee your democracy. And mind you, see, in elections, what you want to take away is the suspicion. Why is the EC doing that? What is the policy consideration? Has the EC discussed this with IPAC? Has everybody agreed? Has all your stakeholders buy into this before you are introducing it? You are introducing a piece of regulation for and on behalf of stakeholders. If the stakeholders have issues, you need to consider the issues. So I think that the EC is making a wrong move. And the EC would have to work with all stakeholders until such a time when we build consensus and know that indeed we have enough biometric machines in all rural areas. They've been tested, they can work, their batteries will not run out, and so on and so forth. And we know that we can foolproof the system. Then we can allow it. But for now, I don't think that will be a good move for the EC to do so.
I see.
It will just be one of those, rigging plots by the ruling government that the EC may want to endorse.
Should the polls close at 3 p.m.?
No.
Why not?
No, because, legislation and regulation must be based on research and must be based on what I would call know-how. What is our own experience as a people? We should know where we are coming from. Sometimes you go, when it's election day, even this election, they had to, at a point, conduct the election for 2 days in some electoral areas. And so, if you are going into a major election, which has, with the stakes being so high, why would you want to test, something? Even the district assembly election, we didn't close at 3. So why would you close at 3 in a general election, where you know that sometimes before your voting materials cross rivers and islands to voting centers, sometimes it takes it takes so much time that people, instead of when we are starting at 7, other constituencies will begin voting at, say, 9 or 10, and so on and so forth. Why would you want to introduce closure at 3 p.m.? I don't think it's a good idea.
The General Secretary of the NPP has asked those who are sabotaging the government to step aside. If they don't want to be reshuffled and they don't want to do the work, they should step aside. I'll take your thoughts on that when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Hot Issues. Thank you, Honourable, for your time here. The General Secretary of the NPP, and this is a point he's making for the second time, and perhaps even the third, because he said that on this show. He says that if you're a minister, a CEO on MMDCE, and you have not been reshuffled and you think you're tired, resign. Don't sabotage the party. Sounds like a good call, doesn't it, Amy?
Well, it's a good call, but it's a call that must go to the government itself. I think that it is a government itself that must resign. It's a government that must give way to new ideas, like the 24-hour economy. I think that every Ghanaian feels very, very tired at this moment. It's a good call, but I think it's a very belated call as well, because the damage has been done. Everything has been destroyed. You know, the economy is gone. That call should have gone to the finance minister when he consistently said we won't go to IMF, and he took us to IMF. That call should have gone to the BOG boss when he printed money without parliamentary oversight, and when it was pointed to him, he still continued to sit in the chair. That call should even be going to His Excellency the President, who was supposed to sign a bill that has gone through all the parliamentary processes, and he refuses to sign. So it's a good call, but I think it's a very belated call.
I want to take you on the point of the economy. The World Bank has said the economy has turned the corner. And so when your side of the political divide keeps on hammering on, look at the economy, they say it's getting better.
How?
Have you seen the inflation figures?
How much inflation? Do we eat inflation figures in Ghana? How much is kinky now? It's Christmas. Go out and see. How much is Piccadilly biscuit? How much is Fanta? Go and buy sardine. How much is it? Go and ask one chicken, a fowl. How much is a fowl? How much is 5 kilo rice? I mean, the reality of Ghanaians is that we are struggling. And, you know, for every policy cycle, the impact of policies sometimes take like 3 years. So the corner that you are turning, it may be a corner you are turning in the air and in the books. It has not yet reflected in the life of Ghanaians, and it's not going to reflect in the next 12 months. So Ghanaians are struggling, and that is what it is.
Very well. We'll leave our conversation here for now. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Francis Xavier Sosu is Member of Parliament for Medina. We've been discussing his time in Parliament, the bills he's pushed, the standoff between the President and the Speaker of Parliament, and how it would impact the bill that he had sponsored. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Hot Issues. We'll be back next Sunday with another enthralling episode. Do stay tuned and make a date with us. Bye-bye.